Are the Toronto Blue Jays about to make the most expensive mistake in franchise history? That's the burning question echoing through the halls of Rogers Center tonight as news breaks that the Blue Jays have committed a staggering 7-year, $210 million contract to right-hander Dylan Cease. While Toronto's front office celebrates finally opening the checkbook, a closer examination of this blockbuster deal reveals a minefield of red flags that could haunt this franchise well into the next decade. Let's be brutally honest here. Desperation makes organizations do reckless things. And make no mistake, this signing reeks of desperation. Here's where the story gets uncomfortable for Blue Jays faithful. While Cease has flashed brilliance throughout his career, his performance against the very division he's now being paid handsomely to dominate tells a drastically different tale, one of struggle, inconsistency, and outright failure. The numbers don't lie, and they're absolutely damning. Across 29 career starts against American League East opponents, Cease has posted a bloated 4.61 ERA. That's not ace material. That's not even reliable mid-rotation material. That's the kind of performance that gets you traded or relegated to long relief in October. But wait, it gets worse. Against the New York Yankees, the Team Toronto will battle tooth and nail for division supremacy. Cease has been nothing short of batting practice. In 6 starts against the Bronx Bombers, he surrendered a 5.34 ERA while serving up 5 home runs. Picture this: Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Giancarlo Stanton licking their chops every time Cease takes the mound at Yankee Stadium. That's not a recipe for success, that's a recipe for disaster. The Boston Red Sox? Even more catastrophic. Cease has hemorrhaged runs to the tune of a 6.04 ERA against the Bo Sox. When you're getting shelled by division rivals on a consistent basis, how exactly are you supposed to lead your team to a pennant? The Blue Jays aren't just asking Cease to pitch well occasionally against these teams. They're asking him to face them 19 times per season. That's 19 opportunities for these nightmarish trends to continue, 19 chances for this investment to crumble before their eyes. Dylan Cease is the ultimate enigma wrapped in a riddle, stuffed inside a mystery. One season, he's finishing second in Cy Young voting with a microscopic 2.20 ERA. The next, he's posting a pedestrian 4.58 ERA and watching his stock plummet. This isn't just minor fluctuation, this is seismic volatility that would make a stock trader nervous. Let's walk through the roller coaster. In 2022, Cease was absolutely electric, striking out batters at an elite rate and looking like a future ace. Then came 2023, where he regressed significantly with that 4.58 ERA. He bounced back somewhat in 2024 with a respectable 3.47 ERA, only to stumble again in 2025 with a 4.55 mark in San Diego. The pattern is undeniable. One step forward, one step back. Rinse and repeat. And here's the kicker that should terrify Blue Jays management. Cease has led the entire league in walks twice. In 2022, during his Cy Young caliber season, he still walked 78 batters. Last year with the Padres, another 71 free passes despite making 32 starts. Think about that for a moment. You're paying $30 million annually for a pitcher who routinely loses the strike zone, who puts runners on base at an alarming rate, and who forces his defense to work overtime every single outing. Yes, he'll strike out 200-plus hitters. He punched out 215 in 2025, but at what cost? The modern game demands efficiency. It demands pitchers who can work deep into games, who can limit base runners, who can give their bullpen a break. Cease is the antithesis of that philosophy. He's a high-wire act without a safety net, and the Blue Jays just guaranteed him $210 million to keep walking that tightrope. Here's the uncomfortable truth that Blue Jays brass apparently chose to ignore during contract negotiations. Dylan Cease will turn 30 years old this December, and this contract runs through his age 36 season. Let that sink in. Toronto just committed to paying premium dollars for a pitcher's decline years. History is littered with cautionary tales of teams that made this exact mistake, and the results are almost universally catastrophic. The aging curve for starting pitchers is well documented and unforgiving. Peak performance typically occurs between ages 26 to 29. After 30, velocity drops, recovery time increases, and injuries become more frequent and severe. It's not pessimism, it's biology. Sure, there are outliers. Justin Verlander remained dominant into his late 30s. Max Scherzer defied father time for years. But for every success story, there are dozens of pitchers who fell off a cliff after 30. And here's the critical distinction. Those success stories were already established aces with consistent track records. Cease is neither. Even if, and this is being generous, Cease delivers 2 or 3 quality seasons to start this contract, what happens in years 4, 5, 6, and 7? What happens when his fastball velocity drops from 97 to 94? What happens when those nagging shoulder issues that plague every pitcher in their 30s start accumulating? The Blue Jays will be stuck paying astronomical money for declining production, watching younger, cheaper, more effective pitchers dominate while their investment collects paychecks and occupies a rotation spot out of obligation rather than merit. Let's address the elephant in the room. Bo Bichette remains in free agency limbo. The Blue Jays' homegrown star, a cornerstone player who's bled blue his entire career, is watching his team commit $210 million to an inconsistent pitcher while his own future hangs in the balance. What message does that send? Beyond Bichette, Toronto has holes throughout their roster. The bullpen needs reinforcement. The outfield could use an upgrade. The lineup lacks the kind of middle-of-the-order thunder that championship teams possess. Instead of addressing multiple needs with that $210 million, the Blue Jays put all their chips on one unpredictable arm. This is the definition of putting your eggs in one basket, and that basket has a documented history of dropping eggs. Look, nobody wants to be the pessimist. Nobody wants to rain on Toronto's parade when they're finally spending money and showing ambition. But ambition without wisdom is just recklessness with a bigger budget. The Dylan Cease signing checks every box on the how to sabotage your franchise checklist. Overpaying for inconsistent performance? Check. Ignoring glaring statistical red flags against division rivals? Check. Committing long-term money to a pitcher entering his decline phase? Check. Sacrificing roster flexibility for a single high-risk acquisition? Check. Could Cease prove everyone wrong? Absolutely. Baseball is beautiful precisely because it's unpredictable. Maybe he'll figure out his command issues. Maybe he'll suddenly dominate the Yankees and Red Sox. Maybe he'll age like fine wine rather than spoiled milk. But betting $210 million on maybe is how franchises set themselves back half a decade. The Blue Jays had an opportunity to build something sustainable, something smart, something that could compete year after year. Instead, they've potentially mortgaged their future on a pitcher whose track record screams caution rather than confidence. Time will tell if this gamble pays off. But right now, standing here in November 2025, this looks less like a championship move and more like a franchise-crippling miscalculation that Blue Jays fans will be lamenting for years to come. What do you think about Toronto's massive commitment to Dylan Cease? Is this the move that finally pushes the Blue Jays over the top, or are we witnessing a slow-motion disaster? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and smash that like button if you think the Blue Jays just made a colossal mistake.